Hello, everyone in Lemonade Legend Land. Thank you for being here. This is a special podcast outside of my normal weekly. We have 4 great guests on today, and what we're doing is talking about the Connect Summit 2. It's a virtual summit. We've already had a huge 2-day Connect Summit a few weeks back, very successful, lots of just really great speakers. We're going to give a little smaller version coming up on Tuesday. So it starts at 4 o'clock Eastern time, that's 1 o'clock Pacific, going through to about 9:15 Eastern with a cocktail hour after that. So you got to make it through to a cocktail hour, all right? So I've got 4 of the presenters here in Connect 2, and we will talk to each of them. I'm going to jump to Zondra first, because she is our keynote speaker, one of 2 that will be at the summit. Hi, Zondra.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing great.
Wonderful.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your subject, and because this common theme, is connect. So it's making connections, powerful connections, and how connection propel you in business. So what specifically are you doing to address connection?
Yeah, this time around in Connect Summit 2, I'm going to be talking about mindset and really connecting the dots with the need to really have a growth mindset and the ability to adapt new technologies in order to survive in your business long term.
That's great. So there's a lot of summits going on. I mean, it's a new thing with COVID-19. What made you decide to put yourself out on this one?
Well, I tell you what, because I think I feel like I'm on a personal crusade to help people reframe their mindset and to not only think about this is a pandemic, COVID-19 is, but if we only prepare short term for this pandemic, we won't be ready when something else occurs. So my goal is to be out there and to help promote, understand, and gain additional understanding from my audience on the criticality of having a virtual component to your business.
Right. And you're blazing a trail, and as all of you are, and I'm just kind of coming up behind trying to learn from how to navigate this world. But I'm learning fast. My kids are proud of me. Yeah, because they're not going to surpass me anymore. I'm like moving on. Well, that's great. So do you know approximately what your time is when you'll be on?
I think it's around 3:40, 3:45, something of that sort, Central Time. It's whether or not we're running on time, but somewhere around 3:30, 3:45 on Tuesday, April 14th.
We're going to look forward to seeing you and hearing from you and the great things that you have to say. I'm going to move around the group right now, so I hope you can hang out if you can. Then we'll
Thank you, Michelle.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks, Zondra. Daniel, we'll put you on the hot seat right now. Tell us a little bit about what you do and your role in running the workshop presentation for Connect.
Okay, sure. Thank you for inviting me. So really what I do is I help companies figure out how to scale with virtual staffing. I'm a tech guy, I'm a data nerd, and I've been doing this stuff for a long time. But I found that there's a big need out there for people to be able to level up what they do, but not do it in themselves. That a lot of us kind of get stuck in Busyville, especially if you're running your own business. If you've got a sole business or you're an entrepreneur that's just starting out, you tend to take on everything and try to be a jack of all trades, which gets you really, unfortunately, nowhere. So if you can figure out what you're doing that you shouldn't be doing, that somebody else can do, then you delegate that or you outsource that to a virtual assistant. That's really a starting point. And as you grow your business, you can look at having staff that are working remotely, which in times like these is very, very important to be able to keep your business going. You know, the end goal for me and for the people I work with is for them to be able to enjoy, a fun, productive, happy life. When they're not working, the business is still going. when they're able to go to bed at night and they wake up in the morning and things are getting done. That's kind of the end goal of what I've been doing for a while and what I want to help people to do as well. So I'll be talking about that on Tuesday.
So will you be talking kind of in a layman's terms, so those of us who haven't quite gotten to the point of, outsourcing, that we understand, some of what you're talking about?
Absolutely, right. So one of the things that I do is that I am pretty good at creating systems, but not making it overly complicated and making things, as you said, in layman's terms, right? So like one of the keys to success of having a good virtual team is making sure you have good communication skills. And so you want to focus on certain technologies that allow you to do that. So there's all these things where, like, for example, right now we're using Zoom, which my team has been using for quite a while. So there's these technologies that allow us to connect and communicate better. And then using applications that you may have heard of, like I'll mention a few of these on Tuesday, like Trello, which is a project management tool, or Monday's another version of that. Just ways to merge technology with traditional staffing to give you the idea of having a virtual staff working at anywhere at any time.
That's great. I know that for me personally, I've been starting that process of delegating just because I can learn it, but it takes so much of my valuable time to learn it that, it's like, why do I want to spend my time there learning, even more and more and more, because I can't be the solo, jack of all trades forever.
Exactly.
So that's great. And you'll work with businesses of all sizes?
Yes. So I have some clients that are solopreneurs, and then I have some clients that are actually medium-sized businesses. So really, it's figuring out what you need to be able to have somebody else do to free you up to do what you do best. And it really doesn't matter what size of your business or how long you've been in business. Just the fact that you're trying to find a way to scale up is really the key.
Well, it's certainly appropriate for the times to be talking about how we need to scale and shift and pivot what we're doing from a technological standpoint. Boy, I stumbled over that word, technological.
Okay.
I'll leave it to you, Daniel.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Sharon, how about you?
Hey, I am the zesty change gal. So I did my first Connect, and that was really fun. I really enjoyed it and got to meet a lot of the speakers and loved the breakout room and loved all the content. So that was really great. And I felt inspired to do it again. And my last topic was about stress and how stress is a big deal in this time to keep it down so that you don't compromise your immune system. And a little backstory, I met Daniel Bissonette at a Bill Walsh seminar, or not, it was one of his programs, maybe the 2020 Business, or I don't remember which one. But Daniel was speaking from stage, and he was an amazing speaker and also a very big inspiration in the health world. And he's a young man, he's only 15, and he's been working in this environment as a national speaker. He started speaking at 9, and he's been speaking all the way through, all over. And he has a message, and his message is to help the world be healthier. And I became really inspired, which is kind of my message, not as deeply dug into as Daniel. Daniel is a genius, really, and he's dug really deep into all of the reasons why and how to keep your immunity up and all of the other parts of aging down. And that's kind of my area as well. And I ended up buying Daniel's coaching program and spent the last 12 weeks in Daniel's program going into all the things that I already did, but not at the same depth and not maybe as complete and not quite as robust as Daniel's program. So I learned a lot. I became, more friendly with Daniel as I got to learn more about his techniques and his ideas and, all of his components. And he called me to do a private coaching, part of my coaching with Daniel. And we decided to do a Zoom together and offer it to other people so that I could share some of that learning with my tribe of women that are looking to be zesty as they age. And then it went from there to deciding that we both had some really interesting content, and the unlikely duo created a book. So we have written a little book called The Limitless Liability. No, that's not it. Liability? No, it's immunity. So we're all thinking about liabilities right now as we're trying to figure out how to pay our bills.
Exactly.
That's kind of where that word came from. But no, it's limitless immunity. And we were calling it the pandemic protocol, but that sounded like duh. So we wanted something a little more uplifting than, than that. So we've created a 12-chapter guide with a lot of infographics in it to make the concepts easier to visualize and understand. And we're speaking together, so here we are, the unlikely, 15-year-old health genius meets zesty elder, and so I'm 70 and Daniel is 15. So some people go, wow, how's that work? Well, it just says that you can start when you're young, you can stay healthy your whole life, you can jump in at any time, and the same principles work. So it's about health and wellness and taking care of yourself and avoiding, high blood pressure and the heart attacks and the immunity problems that come with all those other things. So that's really, Daniel and I have come together, and we're going to present together some of his, specialty topics and some of mine, which all lead to the same thing: how to stay healthy as you age. And even when you're 15, you age, then you're 16 and then you're 17. So even though it's nothing like being 70, it's still an aging process. So I'm really excited about doing this with him because it's a crazy kind of connection, but I've gotten to really respect him. I've learned a lot from him. He's a dynamic speaker. He's a fun guy, and he is a genius. So I'm happy to present with this little wizard.
Wow. So yeah, I'm excited for that too. I love the next generation. In fact, I have in my marketing team, it's headed by a 24-year-old, and
Wow.
he's amazing. And he does things I could never imagine understanding. And I really think bridging that age gap as far as what they know, what we know from our experiences, I think it's a beautiful pairing. And I resonate with that because Jacob and I are now really, really good friends too. And so it's a great partnership. So that'll be exciting. But 15, that's young.
It is. And although he's very grown up in so many ways, I am partnering with a 15-year-old boy. So there's all those challenges. And not only that, a 15-year-old genius. Yeah. So it's a new experience and a learning curve for me, how to use my wisdom with his energy and come out the other side with the very best of both worlds.
That's a good way to put it, the energy and the wisdom. Because I would like to bottle up that energy of somebody who's 15 or even 24 or 30. I'll take it. But I got to start listening more to you, Sharon, to get that energy, because I think if I would just discipline myself, I eat pretty good. I really do. But I know there are things that I can do better. We can always.
We all can. And Daniel's very eccentric. And so not all of us are going to follow down Daniel's path in its entirety. But what Daniel and I have come to the agreement of is any portion of it that fits into somebody's daily life that they can own, that they can actually do, that they can take into their realm and make it happen is a big win. And that doesn't mean that, he happens to be a vegetarian and a vegan, and he does, cold immersion, which is a whole nother concept, which is cold showers, really, to increase your brain power. And it works, but not everybody lives somewhere where they're going to do cold showers. So, although I don't do 100% of Daniel's protocol, I've learned more about the things that I've already done that have helped me stay vital and lean and alive as I age, and then incorporate some of his that I can fit in without sitting in the snow. That I just don't know that I'm going to do that, but I respect what he's learned, and it is heavily researched. The kid is just a research magnet. So it's been a real interesting and exciting and fun and energetic and back and forth kind of time to build a little offering with a with someone so much on the opposite end of the spectrum than me. Number one, he's male. Number two, he lives in British Columbia. He's from a French background. He's a very disciplined vegan, and he's very full of energy. So it's just an interesting juxtaposition next to a 70-year-old woman. That I'll be 71 this year. So, but I think that's fun. And even though people think we're kind of nuts to do it, I think it's a really fun, exciting thing.
Oh, spot on. Yes, yes, and keep doing it. I'm going to definitely be watching you. So I think you said you were 5'4".
520.
Okay.
520 Pacific. Are you Pacific? Are you on the Pacific coast?
Yeah, because Arizona is that weird state that.
Oh yeah, but right now you're on Pacific time. Yeah. So yeah, I'm at 520 to 540, and Daniel and I will kind of be going, like I said, back and forth. You know, he has 4 topics that he's going to focus on. I have 4 topics that I'm going to focus on. The book has 12 different chapters and 12 different topics. So we're going to give everybody a taste of what's in there, and then a nice freebie that's a coaching session, a 40-minute coaching session, so they can get more depth, because there's only so much you can, so much information you can spread that someone can really take in and feel that they've got the power to use it in 20 minutes.
Well, yeah, and you're so right. And this is what I love about these summits. First of all, it's virtual. We need that right now. But even 20 minutes gives you a taste, because we can throw a lot of money around on things we see on the internet or read about. But it's when you see someone, you see their face, see their energy, hear them speak, I think you can align yourself with that person better and say, hey, they're worthwhile connecting up with. Yeah. And I think that's really what the summit allows us all to do, and make those connections. So thanks, Sharon. That's great.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. I'm really, really happy to be a part of this. Thank you.
Good. Hey, I'll pop on a Zoom anytime, record it, and boom, put it out there. And
there we got it. And yeah, so we're all learning and getting more adept at Zoom and finding the right buttons and learning how to share the screen. I mean, it is a learning curve, all of this, and we're dumped into it in the gotta learn it quick.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to turn it over to Martha and talk a little bit about what you're doing. But before you start, I just want to say that I'm putting out a digital magazine. It will be out on Wednesday. Martha is one of our contributors. So I thank you so much for jumping on board that. And so people can get that magazine and learn a lot more about you that way. But what are you going to be talking about at the summit, Martha?
Excited. I'm just super excited altogether. And with the Zesty 50 Queen, Sharon, what you're doing is just amazing. You inspire me. I'm 64, and I just love your energy. It's just fabulous. Okay.
Thank you. And I appreciate your vote of confidence. It's always lovely when I see you making a comment and know it's somebody I know and who I'm so in awe of all of your accomplishments. So it's a win-win. I love being an inspiration, and you inspire me. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. So the summit part 2, right? So I believe, because I'm Pacific time, so I think I'm at 2:30, if that's correct, right? If we're doing it, starts at 4.
Pacific time, it starts at 1.
Okay, so then I'm at 2:30. And so I work with the healthcare professionals in the domestic violence realm. Started learning all about the domestic violence healthcare professionals when I put my book out. And so what I did is I shared my book with a couple of my peers, the clinics, the healthcare clinics, and when the doctors and nurses started coming back and telling me their stories, I said, it's shifting now. Now my works is shifting. So I will be speaking to the healthcare professionals. I've had a lot of nurses calling me and sharing their stories, and doctors, and they're literally crying. They are literally crying to me. So I want to convey the message to them that we do care. We're thankful for their works and so grateful for them. And how can we partner with the healthcare professionals and give them the support that they need right now. And so then that's going to tie into along the lines of the domestic violence, the survivors, and how to encourage them and move forward. A couple of the nurses that I've spoken to actually have their own businesses, a separate entity from the hospitals that they're working at right now. So they also have a need for us, like for what Daniel does, what you're doing, what we're all doing. There's a need for what we are doing. So demand and supply, right?
Right.
So any rate, it's going to be exciting. I'm super, super excited about this and I can't wait. And yeah, so that's basically what I'm doing.
Right, you know, it's fascinating because I think all three of your topics are really just so appropriate for today's time. And Martha, I'm sure you've been reading this. You probably are already hearing that domestic violence is expected to exponentially rise with people being, you know, stuck with each other.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm really grateful. I still like my husband.
Yeah, me too.
I haven't gotten sick of him yet, but you know, but that's really a concern, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. And it is on the rise. The issues are because they're unemployed, you know, they can't find work or what have you, even though it is already a learned behavior. It's a behavior within these types of individuals. And so they're definitely, you know, it's on a rise right now. The women and the children are in great danger. So, you know, we have to be the voice. We have to be there for them and support them and give them all the tools and the resources that they need for a safer environment. But it's definitely on the rise.
Right. Yeah. And probably a lot of these women, it's always hard to know where to go in any situation, but right now in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic, it's even harder to
Yes.
understand where you can go. So thank you for your good work in that area. And lastly, I'll touch with each of you on this. Here's the really cool thing. So I'm going to post the Eventbrite for the Connect 2. And the reason it's really important, it doesn't cost anything, but you need to register because free guests. That's the only way you get the free guests. So all of the speakers, I think, and presenters have a free gift to offer, and it's only those who are registered who get that. So I know you mentioned, Sharon, you've got a coaching session that you're offering up.
Right, that Daniel and I are doing a 40-minute coaching session on this, on immunity, on how to really boost it. You know, simple things you can do today that will make a difference for, you know, they say 70% of us are going to get this thing. So it's not about if, it's about when. And so right now, I mean, and that'll take the next year to happen. It's not going to happen tomorrow or the next day. We'll come out of this, you know, flurry, and it'll be, you know, a much slower curve at that point, but we will be getting it. So everybody today, starting yesterday, should do whatever they can do that's simple. I mean, some of them are just as simple as getting 20 minutes of exposure out in the sun every day. That's a simple, simple thing that everybody can do. It doesn't cost you anything. You don't even have to put on your, you know, you can go in your pajamas. So it doesn't matter, but it does matter because of what that exposure brings to you in terms of immunity. It's the vitamin D supports all the other minerals. So there's tons of things that will happen. And that's why we really wanted to do that for our bonus. I mean, we had other things, and we have a new book. So we've written this book, and we're, you know, we're offering the book at a really low price so that people can get the rest of the information. So it's about a 40-page book, and it's, you know, a guide, and we'll be touching on those, you know, the superficial of all of those things that people can really get to, that they can actually, you know, do, like go outside. How hard is that?
Right. Daniel, what are you throwing into the gift bag?
Is he on?
Yeah, you're muted right now.
You're muted, Daniel. We
Here
can't
we
hear
go.
you.
Okay.
There you go.
Yeah.
Now you're back.
I couldn't find the button. I was like, where the heck is it?
I know, that's the challenge with this stuff.
So I'm offering a free consultation as well as 10 free hours of VA service.
That sounds Yeah.
Yeah. So if someone signs up and they do a full month, then I'll give them 10 hours for free. It's really the offer. So
That's awesome because
Yeah.
10 hours you can get a lot done, and you can really delve into what needs to be done. So that's
right. It's a lot of social media posting, a lot of data entry, whatever it is you need to get done. You can bust out a lot of stuff.
a real value. How about you, Martha?
I'm doing the 30-minute free consultation as well, but I'm giving a very special offer, my book.
Yeah.
If they sign up, I'm going to give a book for free because there's so many women out there that need this book. And in my book, I have tons and tons of resources, phone numbers, emails, websites that they can go on to get help. They're going to get a free book.
That's exciting.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. So your book isn't just a read, it's a resource.
Right, it's got tons of resources. Read the first chapters. Half of the book is my life, what transpired and how I overcame. So the emphasis is the the empowerment, the resources and the tools to help you to get to the next step.
Terrific.
That's great. So I'm just going to give a real quick, scenario of what I'm talking about. So I provide a platform for people to have their voice, and I feel very very empowered and passionate. I just made up a new word, didn't I? Impassioned. But really, truly, for people to have a voice. People like, Martha and who she works with, you don't have a voice when you're being controlled by an abusive spouse. So many different situations. And so I have the book, The Lemonade Stand, and I've got the magazine coming out, and it's all about being able to tell your story, share yourself. So I'm going to be talking about why that's important and how that helps to make connections and build relationships, not just personally, but professionally as well. And my gift will be a free copy of The Lemonade Stand. So I'm excited as well. And you guys jumped on last minute. Thank you. Sometimes I just go, light bulb just went off. I need to do this. And so I appreciate that you all were willing to jump on and give us a shout out to Connect too.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
we're connecting with each other. We need to support each other, and just help each other because these are challenging times, and sometimes you're alone or you're feeling frustrated or a little down, and so these types of Zoom meetings together, I think it's fantastic.
It's fabulous. And you get to know more about what everybody else is doing. And I have a book that I'm writing that really touches on what both of you have done, which I call it The Essence of Zest. And that's a more robust book than the little one that Daniel and I just did. And it has 25 to 30 stories of women who have had difficulties in their life. It's kind of like the Lemons to Lemonade kind of thing, and about how they ended up being the queen of their own life by telling their story, and therefore having their story, their scepter, to change the world. So I think of it in kind of a queenly way, that story becomes really their power. And that's coming out in summer. So I'd love to keep in touch with you two and see how we might create some synergy around what I'm doing and what you've already got in the works.
Absolutely.
I'd love that. And you just gave the best advertisement, even for me. It's just the whole premise. Telling your story is powerful. And, and it does give you a certain power. It just paves the way to being successful, because you get rid of all that stuff that's been hanging around, shame, whatever it is, and you just bust through that and you become just a powerful, incredible person. So,
well, in me sharing my story, if I could just say, by me sharing my story, look what came out of the woodworks. Doctors, female doctors and nurses, they started coming to me and telling me, oh my God, I'm so glad you wrote your book. This happened to me. And so typically what society thinks of domestic violence is maybe the impoverished woman, right?
Yeah.
Maybe she's single, she's impoverished, she's, whatever. But doctors and lawyers and nurses, it's across the board. Domestic violence is across the board. It holds no boundaries.
Yeah.
So in me coming forward, the doctors started to open up. And so now it's, you know, just nationwide. Right before this epidemic happened, we were getting ready to travel the world with these doctors to tell their story. They want to travel the world to tell their stories. And so now this took place. And so now it's like regrouping. Okay, how are we going to do this? Right. And so it's all virtual. So yeah, Daniel, we need Daniel, this Daniel.
Yeah, yeah, it's that time, you know, and I can tell you, I've used virtuals in my world, and it's the way to go because especially for those of us that are not Daniel's age or, you know, 25, there's so much technology to figure out. And it's really, really difficult for those of us that didn't grow up with a Nintendo in our hands. They've been doing that kind of stuff their whole life. And they didn't even have computers when I was going to college. I mean, so, you know, there were no personal, you know, no personal devices then. So these kids have grown up with that stuff in their hand, and it's second nature. I mean, they can do it with their eyes closed, and we can't do it with our eyes open and 5 virtual assistants. So what Daniel offers.
No, you're better than that. I know it. But anyway, but here's the beauty of it all, right? Is we are all part of an amazing tribe, and we support each other. We make connections with each other. You know, we find mutual need for business and everything else. So what I want to say to all of you out there listening, listen in on this summit, get the information, get the gift, but become part of this tribe because it's amazing. It's like, I call it networking on steroids because I make connections by being within this circle like you just can't do walking into a networking room. You know, it just doesn't happen that way. So I thank you all, and tune in and you will learn so much more, not only from Daniel and Martha and Sharon and Zondra, who had to drop off, but we've got, I don't even know how many people we have, 15,
Wow.
12, yeah. But some really talented, really exceptional people. So with that, we're going to have to sign off, but I'll make sure I put the registration link in with this podcast. And really encourage people to jump on when they can. And if you can't jump on, it will be recorded. So
Thank you, Michelle.
Thanks, Michelle.
Thank you for your invite and your inspiration and your lemonade project.
Yes.
All right. Thank you all. And to my Lemonade Legend listeners, I appreciate you being here. And until next time. So make sure you connect on that Eventbrite, and we'll see you at Connect 2.
Thank you.
Bye.